there, Mr. Redder here. Welcome back to another episode of Reddit Podcast Stories. Our first story we'll be reading today. Karen's sister-in-law loses it on me for canceling my Netflix without telling her. After that, am I the jerk for not including my niece and my daughter's birthday since her parents can't afford it? And after that, your trash cans may only be out at specific times. Now for every thumbs up this video gets, one Karen has to get her own Netflix account. I'm fine with that, as long as you let me stay on your Disney Plus. So please smash that like button and subscribe and turn on notifications for new stories from Reddit every single day. Karen's sister-in-law loses it on me for canceling my Netflix without telling her. Me, 41 female, and my husband, 42 male, subscribed to Netflix 7 years ago when our daughter, who's 18, asked us to. We were in a difficult financial situation at the time, but said we'd give it some thought. We caved. However, only on the condition that she spends one night a week watching it with us. 2 years after, my brother, who's 34, married his wife, who's 36. She was married previously and has twin daughters, who are 10. I love them to pieces. Sister-in-law then gave birth to their son, and all heck broke loose. My nieces were constantly dropped off at either our house or their maternal grandparents' house. There wasn't a word of warning. They were just dropped off and picked up the next day to be deposited somewhere else. I told my brother that we had to talk after a month of this. He texted me back a week later and asked for my Netflix login. He said they needed for bonding time. I should have called BS, but he's my brother and I didn't want to refuse him. Recently, my nieces and I were at the park with our youngest daughter, who's 11. One of my nieces asked to sit with me. She asked why they don't visit often anymore. I say that she should be happy spending time with her parents. She admits that they are left to watch Netflix while sister-in-law and brother spend time with the baby. When I got home, I told my husband. He was beyond furious, shaming my brother for being a bad father. His words, biological or not. I couldn't disagree. It was me who had the idea to unsubscribe altogether, and this went beyond teaching them a lesson. We never really used it anymore. My eldest complains that they're apparently going to ban account sharing. This would be a bad thing because she's across the country in college and is the only person who somewhat actively uses it alongside sister-in-law. My husband admitted that the money for the subscription could, and probably should, go towards more useful things. We let our subscription expire and my sister-in-law soon came knocking. She went off on us for canceling, that it wasn't our call to make since they use the account too, yada yada yada. Here's where I think I might be the jerk. I shut the door in her face and said that she needs to seriously self-reflect. She scoffed and left. Ever since, I haven't seen them. Sister-in-law has gone radio silent and my brother speaks to me through our parents. This not only upsets me, but my kids too, particularly my son who's 15. My brother promised to take him to a sport event this week, but has since canceled. Deep down, I know that I did the right thing. However, I frankly feel like crap seeing how miserable my kids are. Not only that, but my niece's relationship with him and sister-in-law is totally unsalvageable, according to my brother, in a Facebook post blaming me and my husband for his now difficult family life, which has led to a few nasty comments. I'm wondering if I should have just remained complicit. I'm tempted to resubscribe just for the sake of making things a little more peaceful, as per an ultimatum my sister-in-law and brother wagered. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. I honestly don't even need to read this story to tell you you're not the jerk. Why should you have to warn someone who's mooching off you that you're going to cancel your subscription? She wants Netflix, she can pay for her own subscription. Am I the jerk for not including my niece in my daughter's birthday since her parents can't afford it? I'm 31, female. My daughter, who's 8, and my niece, who's also 8, were born 10 days apart. Due to this, ever since they were little, my sister-in-law, who's 29, has always pushed for them to have a shared birthday party. When the girls were younger, around 1 to 4, we used to do shared birthday parties. But my husband and I realized that we were always the ones to foot the bill for everything: food, decoration, location, etc. The girls also were complete opposites. My daughter has always been more of a tomboy, while my niece is super girly. When my husband and I told sister-in-law and my brother that we won't be doing this shared birthday anymore, they were really upset and it started a huge fight. They said they can't afford to throw a nice birthday for my niece, but we can, so it makes sense that we pay for it since we're family. Yeah, not gonna fly with my husband and I. So we stuck by what we said, and ever since, the girls have had separate birthdays. My daughter and my husband love watching Formula One together, and she wanted to have a Formula One themed birthday this year. The weekend before the birthday, we had a family dinner at my parents' house. Sister-in-law, my brother, and niece were present. My parents were asking the girls if they were excited for their upcoming birthdays and if they were having parties this year. My daughter told my parents she's having a Formula One themed party this year. Sister-in-law answered for my niece and said they're not going to have a party for her because things were tight. The conversation was left there. Fast forward to this past weekend. Daughter's birthday was on Saturday. We had the party and it was going great. The whole family was invited as usual and everyone was having a great time until the cake. I'm in the kitchen with my mom, mother-in-law, sister-in-law, and a few other family friends talking. I pulled the cake out to get ready to bring it out for everyone. Sister-in-law takes a look at the cake and looks confused. Sister-in-law: "Is this the girl's birthday cake?" Me: "What do you mean, the girl's? The cake is for my daughter." Sister-in-law: "Well, I thought since I mentioned that things are tight this year, that you'd include niece's name in the birthday." Me: "I understand your situation, but how come you never once mentioned this to me?" "Well, I thought it would be common sense. Now my daughter isn't going to have any kind of celebration for her birthday this year because you and your husband are so selfish." She then stormed out of the kitchen, made a huge scene at the party outside, yelling to her husband and my niece that it's time to go, and they left. Since then, she's been messaging me and my husband nonstop, trying to make us feel guilty that my niece isn't going to have a birthday party and calling us all kinds of names. I feel bad that my niece isn't going to get a birthday party. Am I the jerk for not including her, even though they can't afford it? Not the jerk. First of all, it's simply not your job to make sure your niece has a party. That's up to her parents. If things are tight, maybe they need to be creative, but it's still on them. Secondly, it's ridiculous for her to think that hinting around will get her daughter added to the party. If it was as important to her as she acts like it is, then she should have had a frank conversation with you and simply asked. You could have still said no, but there wouldn't have been the confusion. This is on them, not you. Not the jerk, but I'm very confused. How much money can you possibly invest in an 8-year-old's birthday party? Most of my kids' birthdays have been at the park with a self-made chocolate cake, some sweets, a fruit salad, a treasure hunt, and some balloons. If you want a cool location or a VIP experience or whatever, you can spend more obviously, but that's completely optional. Kids at that age mostly want to have fun with their friends and blow out their candles. Your trash cans can only be out at a specific time. We live in an HOA, and if you don't, lucky you. We've never had any real problems. They don't do much other than make sure the park and gardens look good. Anyhow, for whatever reason, they decided to add a new rule. It wasn't needed, but I guess they got bored and wanted something to do. Maybe someone kept leaving their trash cans out all week. Fine, just ask them not to. It's not that hard. The new rule states when trash cans can be put out. They can't be out before 6 a.m. on Wednesdays and must be put back before 6 p.m. the same day. This is obviously stupid and has a few problems. First of all, some people use a different company. The HOA provided one goes on Wednesday and it's cheap, so most people use it, but you don't have to. Some people have theirs go on Monday or Tuesday. Also, a lot of people here work in the medical field and just aren't home during those times, so no one is there to put out or bring in their cans. So a few of us got together on how to comply, but be annoying about it. We decided to comply with their set times as best we can. Take it out at 6 when a lot of us go to work or go for a morning walk, and take it back in at 6 since most of us are home. Some of us help by taking others' bins to the street if they're at work. But when it's time to take out the trash, doing it as loud as possible. Bin has wheels? Drag it. Got it to the street? Make sure it's firmly placed on the street. Need to take out the other bag? Slap it in there and let the lid slam shut. For those who have trash go out on other days, comply with the times, but do it on your own trash day. Then also put them out on Wednesday as required. If you can, leave trash in them and leave the lid open so it would bake in the sun all day. Yes, it did smell like hot trash. That's the point. After 3 weeks of this, an email was sent out. The rule was thrown out and we were all simply asked to put out and take in our cans within a reasonable amount of time, preferably on trash day. Was it really that hard to ask nicely? Why not just address whoever was the problem? Know that because an HOA rule was changed, A lawyer was paid to look over it before the CC&R could be updated. That means this stupid rule cost every resident money. Anyhow, we are already planning on voting out one member of the board who we know is the problem come the summer election. Am I the jerk for refusing to show my husband the rest of the ultrasound photos of our baby? I, 26 female, am married to Bill, who's 30. We're expecting our first baby together in 3 weeks, but I have an 8-year-old from a previous relationship. To put it lightly, Bill has no filter whatsoever. It's extremely annoying at times since I'm someone that overthinks everything and will go over what I'm about to say 10 times before it leaves my mouth to make sure it's not rude. He thinks there might be something wrong with him because he doesn't understand social cues and he's pretty awkward, but he won't get checked for anything. Today I went for an appointment and they did a 4D ultrasound because they haven't been able to see his face lately due to him always sucking on his thumb. I've never had a 4D ultrasound before, so I was excited to see my baby. Of course, like all 4D ultrasounds, the baby looked like a crisp lasagna when you don't know what you're looking at, but still cute and exciting seeing your baby and all of their facial features for the first time. I got home and waited for Bill to come home so I could show him the photos and videos. I have him sit down and I clicked on the best, clearest photo we got to show him first. A few photos he had his hand up or was at a bad angle or the umbilical cord was giving him a handlebar mustache. He looks at the photo and I'm pointing out that his eyes and nose and mouth, etc., and the first thing out of his mouth is, "Wow, he's ugly." Immediately, I get mad, lock my phone, and refuse to show him any other photos. He asked if that was the only photo I got, and I said, "No, I got more, but why should I show them to you if you're just going to sit there and call him ugly?" I was so excited to show you these, and you've completely ruined the moment because you don't know how to shut your mouth. He looked shocked that I was mad and said it's fair game because I call the baby names all the time. When I'm in a ton of pain, I'll say things like, "This little crap won't get out of my ribs." I told him it was completely different and he claims it's not, and he should be allowed to call him ugly, and also said hopefully that's not how he'll look when he comes out. I just refused to show him any more photos and I told him to get out of the room. He's mad that I won't show him the rest and still doesn't understand why I'm upset. I'm pregnant, so maybe it's just hormones getting to me. So, am I the jerk? Did I overreact, or is he just an idiot? Edit. To answer some common questions I keep getting asked. Is he on the spectrum? We don't know. He and I have both stated that might be the case, but he refuses to get tested because he's scared he might be. I understand this is an issue, but I can't force him to go. I've encouraged him as much as I can and as often as I can, but he doesn't want to get a diagnosis. He was joking. Unfortunately, he wasn't. I poked fun at these types of ultrasounds in my past. I can joke around about it easily. The problem is that he didn't say it in any slight amount of joking way. It was, "Wow, he's ugly," 100% serious and matter of fact. This was a final straw moment for me. I've been on him for the past 2 weeks about his comments like this about other people. He's been saying very shallow, judgmental things, and I don't think it's right. You shouldn't call the baby my baby. It's both of yours. I understand where you're coming from, but there's a reason I called him my baby. We got married, agreed we wanted to try for a baby, and tried for several months. This was not a surprise, and we both decided we wanted a baby. After I got pregnant, any single little ow that was uncomfortable. I'm throwing up from all this morning sickness, or anything that wasn't just absolute praise to the baby, I was to, "Well, you wanted this," every time. I explained how much I didn't like him saying that because it sounds like I'm the only one that wants the baby and he doesn't care, and he still says it. We compromised, and as a running joke, now I call him my baby because I'm the one that wanted him. When talking about the baby, Bill will often say, "my boy," or "our baby." I never corrected him or have ever said, "No, it's my baby, not yours," because it's not that serious. But that's why I said "my baby" in the post. A ton of commenters are saying I'm the jerk because babies are ugly. If you can look your excited pregnant wife in the eyes as she's expressing her joy over seeing the baby that you guys will be holding in just a few short weeks and respond with, "It's ugly," then you are the problem. There's a million other things you can say, and now after I give birth on what should be an amazing moment, I'm going to be scared that he's going to say that again instead of focusing on my baby. I'm going to worry if my husband is thinking that the baby's ugly. Luckily, thanks to some lovely Redditors, I have the comeback. He looks just like you in my pocket now. I didn't show him the rest of the photos because I showed him the best ones you could see his face and chubby cheeks perfectly. It didn't look creepy or weird, so if he could look at the best picture and say, ew, why would I show him the rest that have his hand in the way or shot a bad angle? There's no point in me having to get my feelings repeatedly hurt just so he can see photos that are considered mess-ups anyway. No jerks here. If you were upset by what he said, I can understand why you wouldn't want to show him more. But let's be honest, those photos are very creepy. Why did you have a baby with this guy? Not the jerk, but wow, your husband is something. Lack of social cues or not, he doesn't need to say every thought that pops into his head. And you calling the baby a little crap because they are physically in your ribs is not comparable to calling him ugly. Everyone sucks here. You two need to stop it. Seems to be a lot of tension surrounding the birth of your expected baby. Your husband should admit that that was a boneheaded thing to say, and you should show him the rest of the pictures. You two better grow up before the real baby gets here. You're the jerk. Dad calling the baby ugly is something you're both supposed to laugh at. Let's face it, lots of newborns are ugly, and there's nothing wrong with that. You need to take a chill pill and realize that you're taking life way too seriously. Most babies get less ugly as they get older, so seriously, quit tripping out over small things and just enjoy life. My hubby made jokes about our baby being ugly too, so I'd always hit him with something like, yeah, looks like he's really taking after you, unfortunately. Guess what? He stopped calling him ugly after that. By getting mad and freaking out over people saying things, all you're doing is giving them power over you, letting them control your emotions. We need to be able to control our emotions when people say things that upset us and fire back at them with words to give them a taste of their own medicine. Edit. I get that not everyone can come up with witty responses at all times, but I stand by what I said. When you flip out over literal words that someone said to you, you're just showing your lack of self-control. Manager tried throwing me under the bus, so I showed everyone her incompetence. I recently resigned from a toxic workplace as a data analyst at a startup. It was promising at the start, but not long after, I noticed many red flags, including the fact that my manager had absolutely no data analysis or management experience prior to being promoted. How can you manage analysts without knowing basic Excel functions? I ignored those red flags and trusted her leadership because I liked the company's goals. Little did I know this would be the worst decision ever. I basically did all the work for a team for the whole year I was there. When I ran the numbers for reporting and analysis of team performances, she always asked me to dumb it down so she can present it to high-level management. I thought everything was going well because I only got good feedback from her and the rest of the team. About a month ago, a coworker who I don't get along with made a complaint about me, which was absolutely untrue. Manager believed it without investigating, and all of a sudden, I was placed on a PIP. She spouted all types of lies to HR, and when I refuted those claims with written evidence, they doubled down and started gaslighting me. You're just too negative. I refused to sign and was threatened with termination, so I complied and started building a case against them. I knew she was doing the PIP to terminate me, and she looked for internal candidates to replace me in secret because she was dumb enough to set the meeting up beside me. Once I signed my contract for a new job, I did basically forget all and started working from home. Before my resignation, she asked me to do some reporting for her, so I ran the numbers and sent her the raw data, told her where the files were located, and that she can analyze the data and make the presentation herself. Since she's the data analyst manager, she should know how to do it. She tried reporting me for that, but ultimately backfired because they asked her if the work that I did was actually wrong and was forced to admit she didn't know what she was looking at. Everything else in the team was questioned, and I believe they are now being audited by an external investigator. Credibility destroyed. I'm now working for a small manager who is competent and has clear goals for the team. But that was a heck of a ride. Small win against toxic management, but a win is a win. Edit. PIP is a performance improvement plan. It's used by managers to address underperformance and start a documentation process, usually used as a first step to fire someone or phase them out. Am I the jerk for lighting a match at night and scaring my boyfriend's dad? My boyfriend and I are staying at his parents' house. It's been going really well, but his dad is very particular. He has moments every day where he corrects or instructs the other people in the house on how he wants us to behave. I don't really have a problem with it, but he has a few rules that do make me a little uncomfortable. I don't need to get into why, but I always have stomach issues here. I've been visiting them a few times a year for almost a decade, and it just is what it is. My boyfriend and I used to stay in a room downstairs with a bathroom, and it wasn't a problem. But his brother moved back home, and now we don't have our own bathroom. I don't want to advertise the fact that I have stomach issues to everyone in the house, and I'm not allowed to use the bathroom fan at night, so I usually use potpourri or just a drop. When we got home the last time, my boyfriend got a text from his dad asking him to ask me to stop using strong essential oils as it was making him feel sick. I was so embarrassed, and I honestly have been kind of dreading coming here again. I was talking to my mom about this, and she suggested that I bring some paper matches because that's what she used to do. I got some paper matches, and they actually work pretty well. Tonight I woke up from my sleep because I had stomach issues. I lit a match when I was done, ran it under some water, and folded it up into some aluminum before throwing it in the garbage. I fell back asleep and was woken up a while later by a big commotion. My boyfriend's dad smelled burning and thought the house was on fire, so he woke everyone up in a panic and searched the house to see what was burning. I didn't immediately equate a match with a house fire, and I didn't smell anything when I woke up, so I didn't bring up that I had lit a match. It wasn't even clicking for me that the match was what he smelled until my boyfriend asked me if I smelled anything when I got up earlier to use the bathroom. Long story short, I just got chewed out by his dad for lighting matches at night or lighting matches in general as a guest in their home, and even his mom was upset because I could have started a fire and nobody would know. I apologized and everyone went back to bed, but then my boyfriend lectured me for like 15 minutes about embarrassing him and playing dumb about not knowing what his dad smelled and not using common sense, and then he told me to go to sleep and try not to wake everyone up again. I'm honestly so upset. My boyfriend is sleeping soundly, and I'm just laying here getting madder and madder. I just want to wake him up so we can leave because I feel so uncomfortable. I really don't want to face everyone in the morning. I don't feel like I did anything wrong, but I don't know if I'm thinking rationally because I'm tired and I can't fall back asleep. What do you think? Am I the jerk? I think you get stomach issues at these people's home because it's an incredibly stressful environment where you are walking on eggshells the entire time to tiptoe around his extremely volatile and aggressive father. I mean, goodness, have these people never owned a candle? Not the jerk. Not the jerk. Folks, if a match has been run underwater, then short of the intervention of God himself, that match is not going to start a fire. Good grief, wrapping it in tinfoil is already a step further than reason dictates. Adults can be trusted to dispose of matches. This poor woman has endured repeated visits to this clearly disturbed man's home. She's doing literally everything she can think of to be respectful of his deranged behavior. Something is wrong with this family. At a minimum, they're enabling the father's personality disorder. Stay away from these people. You're the jerk. Lighting matches in someone else's home is a huge no-no. All it takes is one little mistake, and you can be the cause of a house fire that burns down their entire house. Not smart or necessary in any way. If you want to cause potential fires in your own home, you have every right. But to take this risk in someone else's home, they had every right to be furious, and I would have done the same. Next time, try not to light any fires in other people's homes in the middle of the night while they're asleep. Woman confuses me for employee, gets locked out of the store, leaving her groceries behind. So last night, I'm finishing up my shift as an EMT, and it's been a long and tiring one. The calls weren't bad, but there were a lot of them, and we were all over the county. Shift is over, I change back into my comfy clothes, sweats, t-shirt, and hoodie, and I head to the store to get something for dinner. I get there just in time since they're closing in 10 minutes. I assure the cashier that I was just grabbing something quick, and I go and pick up a lasagna from the frozen section. I grab it and turn to head to the checkout when I hear, ahem? Not a throat clearing sound, but someone saying it like they were reading it out loud. I turn around and I see a woman who snaps off with, I need you to go in the back and get me a pack of the frozen pretzels. I say that I don't work here and point out where an employee just went behind an end cap. She snaps, You do work here, and you need to stop being lazy and get me my pretzels. I again say, I don't work here, and I turn to walk to the self-check. She flips and storms off, muttering about lazy employees and managers. I finish checking out, and I'm grabbing my stuff and leaving when I see her again with the cart and a manager, and she yells, "There she is! That's the lazy jerk!" And she starts towards me. I'm not even going to engage, and so I hold up my receipt and my one item to the self-check girl and I walk out. I hear the manager raising his voice and saying, "Ma'am, ma'am." Turns out she left her cart behind and stormed out of the store to confront me. I get in my car to drive off, but she's standing in front of it, so I can't go anywhere. She's also giving me a lashing that I'm too checked out to really pay attention to. Great, I'm already on my last nerve, and this is just too much. Manager sticks his head out of the door and hollers, "Ma'am!" She turns and makes a hushing motion towards him. He hollers, "Ma'am!" one more time, and she hollers back, saying, "I'm dealing with your employee, since you're too much of a little jerk to do it yourself." He bristles and says, "Madam." She cuts him off with, "Shut up," screeched at the top of her lungs. He shrugs, and I watch him go back inside, fiddle with the locks, flips the sign to closed, and pulls down the shades. As I'm watching this, she gets annoyed that I'm not paying her my full attention, and she yells, "What are you looking at that's so important to ignore me?" I just pointed at the shop and say, "They just closed and locked the doors." I'm not sure what she screamed since it was pretty incoherent, but she did run towards the door. Seeing my chance, I drove off, leaving her pounding on the door and yelling. Am I the jerk for leaving the room when my boyfriend enters? I'm 35, female. My boyfriend is 38, male, and we've been dating for a long time, about 7 years. I moved into his house after a year of dating. He works Monday through Friday, 9 to 5 job. I take contract work, and my days and hours vary week to week. I'm an introvert, but I work with lots of people and basically always have to be on at work, so I absolutely require time to myself to recharge. Early on living together, I like to plan one of my days off on a weekday so I could have the house to myself. But frequently, he'd choose to work from home or take a sick day on that day, and I would get frustrated when he didn't leave for work that day. When I expressed this frustration, he'd get annoyed and angry. I told him that I just need time to myself occasionally. It honestly has nothing to do with him. And he responded, "How could it not have anything to do with me? You just told me you don't want to be around me. Plus, this is my house. I'll be here when I want to be." I adapted and got used to living with less alone time for myself. Things changed during lockdown. He now works from home every day. He gave up some of his hobbies as well, and it feels like he never leaves the house anymore. I still work contract work out of the house, but I know that I will have virtually no time that is truly to myself when I'm home. I do all the grocery shopping and lots of other errands as a means to be alone with myself between the drive and the shopping time. Sometimes I just sit in my car in the parking lot or in the garage for like an hour in total silence when I drive somewhere. Sometimes he wonders what has taken me so long, and I tell him that I just took my time with the errand. But I still need space because I feel drained all the time now, and when I mention that it would be nice to have some alone time, he dismisses it and says, "Where would I even go right now?" Now I frequently wear earbuds around the house, sometimes not even playing anything, to cancel out some noise. If I'm in a room alone and he enters without an obvious plan to interact with me, I'll get up and move to a different room where I can continue to be by myself. Example, if I'm sitting on the couch in the living room and he enters the kitchen right next to me and plays a podcast on the Echo and starts making food, I don't ask him to turn off the podcast or leave. I just silently get up and move to the office. Or if he comes into the office, maybe I'll go down to the basement and sit on the laundry table. I didn't ask him to leave the space or to stop making noise. I simply remove myself to continue my alone time. Sometimes he thinks I'm being passive-aggressive or mad at him and gets frustrated with me. As far as I'm concerned, I've expressed my need to have some space, and if he can't understand, that's on him. I see it as a compromise to have my alone time and meet his needs as well. So, am I the jerk for creating my alone time by whatever means necessary? Edit for clarity. I work out of the house, 2 jobs, 60 to 70 hours per week. Lots of human interaction at both. He works from home full-time since lockdown. To clarify, I don't leave the room every time he walks in. It's once or twice per week when he comes into the space I have specifically put myself in to be alone. Almost always when I get home from work, after saying hi and checking in. For example, "Hey, how was your day?" "That's great. My day was super busy. So I'm heading back downstairs to relax while you finish your workday. Still want tacos for dinner? Yeah? Cool. Let's eat at 5:30 before I leave for job number 2. If he comes down to interact with me, talk to me, help me with whatever I'm working on, then I stay and hang out with him. But when he's just making noise in the room where he knows I'm trying to quietly relax, I do relocate sometimes. Edit 2. Not sure where this idea came from that I live for free in his house, and frankly, I'm not sure why it's relevant. We split all expenses based on our income ratio. I pay 45% and he pays 55% of all expenses, including mortgage, insurance, utilities, internet, groceries, house and yard maintenance, etc. I also really enjoy cooking as a hobby and have some dietary needs, so I do nearly all of the grocery shopping, cooking, meal prep, breakfast, lunch, and dinner to cover both of our meals for about 5 of the days a week. Probably done responding now. Thanks for all the feedback. It's been helpful and insightful, and I appreciate the different perspectives. Peace. You're not the jerk for needing time to yourself, but you need to take a long look in the mirror and ask if this is a relationship that's sustainable. You have to very clearly communicate what you need from your partner and come up with solutions together. And if he can't compromise with you for your benefit, this is not the relationship for you. Respecting your partner's need for space is absolutely necessary. I myself do not need to spend every moment with my partner, and he's very much like your boyfriend. I just had to tell him that I needed time to myself when we were home. He could play his games, and I could watch TV in the living room or read, but I couldn't entertain him all the time. Not the jerk. He is for not letting you have some time to yourself. It's a perfectly reasonable and perfectly normal request. He makes it about him and ignores your needs. You're going to go crazy if you guys don't work this out. If he won't accept that you need some space, do you really want to spend the rest of your life sitting in your car in the garage every time you need to be alone? Everyone sucks here. You both need better communication skills. Tell him outright that you need to be alone and set boundaries for yourself. Maybe set up a day with him where he knows to leave you the heck alone. I'm the exact same way as you. I don't think I can ever live with a partner because my alone time needs are so high. Definitely not the jerk. It sounds like he literally never leaves the house. That would drive me crazy. Can you maybe do a staycation by yourself? You're the jerk. You're upset that your boyfriend is in his house and working from his house, and you don't get alone time again in his house. Your solution to your boyfriend having the audacity to be in his home too much is to childishly leave the room. Move out if it's such a problem and rent an apartment. Honestly, if you think your boyfriend being in his home is a problem, you should end it. He shouldn't be expected to leave his house to accommodate you wanting alone time. The entitlement of you and everyone in the comments mad he won't compromise about being in his house. You paying rent doesn't change anything about it being only his house. At best, you're a tenant, and that's only if you have a contract. Support our channel by joining as a member today, and we'll give you a shout out in our next video. Or come watch this video next. You won't believe what Karen does in that one.